Yeah, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about how to make your art look a little more finished. So you ever like get done with a piece, kind of, and you're like, this looks very unfinished still, even though you did all the shading and shit, and you're kind of just like sitting there wondering if you can make it look better somehow. I guess some people might call this like the rendering portion as well, like the stuff that I'm about to do. But anyways, I'll give some tips about some easy ways to make your art look a little more finished, make it look a little more cool. I don't know. Some of this stuff is like techniques that some people say you need to like study and shit, like lighting and shit, but I don't gatekeep. We don't gatekeep here, so starting off, what I did is I took my two layers that I have separated right here. So I have like a front layer and a back layer. I usually do that just to like kind of draw behind things so I don't have to like erase all the lines. But what I do first is I collapse both of these folders, but I duplicate them first, so just in case I need to go back and fix anything. Collapse them and put them here so that I can work on them without having to worry about moving between layers. So let's go through some techniques on how to make our art look a little more finished, a little more like we know what we're doing. So first of all, we're gonna just throw a multiply layer on. There we go. And with that, with the multiply layer just like thrown on top, it kind of just sets the mood a little bit. As you can see, it's just kind of... And usually I'll do a pinkish tone for this, like this. Not for this one though, I'm gonna make it a little more purpley, because that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. So I usually have it around like 30 to 50%, depending. Alright, second of all, we are going to do an overlay layer. And this is the second technique. And you can do all these techniques separately as well. You don't have to do all of these at once. I'm just going to show them all at once, because it's easy to do it that way. This is just my workflow, how I do everything. So next, we're going to take an airbrush with the overlay layer. I like to take like a lighter warm color and kind of go over the parts that I want to stand out a little more. And like skin, other warmer tones. And then usually with stuff that's further back, things that need to be shaded a little darker, I take a blue tone and I go in with that and kind of just touch up around the edges with that to draw the eye towards the warmer colors. So there's a difference there, just to make the colors pop a little more. And that's your overlay layer. Okay. So next we're going to talk about the screen layer. So you have a layer set to screen, and this is actually one of my techniques that I like a lot. So with this, we're going to think about the atmosphere of the piece, and we're going to have things that are further back. We're going to add the screen layer to those. So like the bottom of the coat right here, we're going to add it. That especially if there is a backlight, which there is in this piece, which I think is a technique that I like to use a lot. It can really make it stand out. I'm making sure I'm clipping onto the main piece as well. I'll go in and soften it a little bit with things that are closer to the front, and the further something is back, the lighter it'll be, depending on the light source, of course, but yes, we're gonna do that for the back. And for this I usually just use like a warmer light color, and I'm going to go in and erase that on the sleeve, because the sleeve is closer to the front. And it also desaturates the color as well, which is also helpful to add more atmosphere to the piece. Okay. Yeah, I'm just being real sloppy with this, but like, it doesn't need to be like super perfect. I'm just gonna go in and kind of fix that a little bit. And yeah, again, just the further away it is from like the focus point, the focal point, where the hell you call it, means the lighter and more desaturated it'll be based on if there's lighting in the background, which there kind of is here. And in general, there's going to be lighting that's going to diffuse the colors. So I'm going to add some here, and thinking about the ends of the sleeves now as well, since that's a little closer, but a little bit further back as well. Okay. It'll add a little bit to right here. His arm is a little bit back further. And just a little bit more here. I like to do like in the backs of the hair-ish. So like right around here. And again, it doesn't have to be like super perfect. But yeah, this is kind of like a backlighting techniques. A lot of people say you have to like do like the subsurface scattering and shit, but like I don't really care about all that. I'm gonna add a little bit more here. And I'm going to erase it a little bit. And add a little bit more here. And actually I'm going to take this and, let's see. I'm going to clip it to actually the top part, because for the second part I'm going to go in and add a screen layer to the back part of the hair. So that I could go in and make that a lot lighter, because that's the part that's picking up the most light as it gets much further away. So I'm just going to go in and add that. And actually I'll do that with the multiply layer as well. I'll just duplicate this, clip it to each single aspect of it so I can put it underneath the screen layer actually. Oops. There we go. Okay. And yeah, I'll go and erase some of this in a second, but for the most part, this is basically the gist of the screen layer. Just kind of adding that atmospheric lighting. And you can add as much as or as little as you want, of course. Yeah. Making sure it's on top of the line art as well. And I think there we go. There we have it. Okay. And just kind of around the edges. Okay. So next we're actually going to do something similar. If something is further back, we're going to actually add, we're going to actually add a little bit of blur to it as it's out of focus. So we're going to take our blur tool and we're going to have it about 3, maybe a little bit lower, 2. And the further back thing is, the more blurry it's going to be, so we can add a little bit of that. Oh, right now I'm going in with the back layer, so I don't fuss with the front layer at all yet. And anything that's flowing back, also especially if something is moving, it'll have more blur to it as well. So like the hair flying up is going to have blur to it. And anything, the further back it is, the more blurry it'll be. And again, you can just do as much or as little of this as you want. It's just a nice cool effect to add some motion to the piece. And also it can create more focus on the main parts of it. Having fun. Alright. We'll do it with the main layer as well. I'm going to add a little bit of it to the sleeves, because the sleeves are moving, and to the edges of the coat, since those are further back. Okay. And just a little bit of some hair at the top. Here over here. Okay. So next, we are going to be adding a room lighting. So first of all, I'm going to add actually another multiply layer real quick for this. Oop, clip it. I'm going to do a nice blue, and with that, I'll make it a little more gray so that it doesn't make the tones too different. And I think I'll put this under the screen layer. There we go. I'm going to go in and add a little bit more of the screen layer to over here. There we go. So this is your multiply layer, right? I want to make it a little bit darker. Actually, we're going to make another layer. We're going to set it to glow, or you can set it to screen. Either way works. And we're just going to go along the edges. So we're just going to go like this, along the edges where the lighting will be hitting. And go up from there a little bit as well. Yeah, and have it go up. Any shapes, you think about it, shapes in a three-dimensional space, of course. You can think about where the light would hit and where it would be most light. And it's the tips of the hair. To these planes. Great. Maybe just a little bit here. And just the very edges. Alright, so we're going with the glow layer still. And again, this might negate some shading that you've done before earlier in the piece, but like, it's fine. Just go along with your light source and everything will turn out okay. So I'm actually going to blur a little bit of it down here. Okay. And again, just the very edges. And the underneath of the fingers, because that's where it's coming up. Just kind of follow the shape, the curve of it. That's what I meant. Okay. And even the edges where the light doesn't seem to be coming from, it's still going to have a little bit of light behind it, especially if there's backlighting going on. We'll just kind of a little bit more to the bangs. Do a little bit here, maybe. On the edge of the shirt. And I'll blur it a little bit by the hair. And as always, just as much or as little as you think looks good. Sometimes I like to go a little overboard at this part, but it's fine. Yeah, you can go in and blend the edges if you want. I usually like to keep them pretty solid because I don't really like the colors mixing very much because it looks kind of odd sometimes, but you know, I'll go in and blend it a little bit. Okay, and finally I'm going to add a big brush of the glow layer and just kind of go up to the light source and do that. And we're going to do this again for the back of the hair. Okay. And I'll just go in and kind of go to the bigger brush because it's not as detailed. And just following the hair right now, going with what parts are going to be facing the light source. And the edges as well. I'm not gonna go too high up, I don't think. Okay. And I'm gonna go in and blend it a little bit. So it doesn't look so rough. But also sometimes, again, I do like the harder edges. I like the style of it sometimes. I'm gonna add a little bit more around the edges. Right here. And maybe just here. Okay. And again, take a large airbrush and just kind of go from the light source. Look pretty cool. I'm actually gonna go with a soft eraser and just kind of go on the face. There we go, just to have the face stand out from the rest of it. I'll do a little bit of the same with the hands as well. Anyways, there you have the multiply layer and the room lighting. So with that, next we're actually going to add some correction layers. Save my file real quick, and we're gonna start going into some more fancy stuff. But like I don't quite get exactly how they work, but I will show you exactly what I do for them, and this is to make the colors more harmonious or some shit. So anyways, we're going to go in with some correction layers, and let's take a look. So the first correction layer we're going to do is we're going to do a color balance. And we're going to bring that over real quick. I don't know if y'all can see that, making sure it pops up. Okay, so we have the color balance brought up. We're going to go to shadow, and we're going to take into account what color we want our shadows to be. Usually I go with blue and cyan shadows, and I go with red and yellow highlights. But we'll see what it looks like for our piece, so you can mess around with it. There's a live preview behind you to see. It just makes the colors more rich and kind of harmonious. You can kind of mess around with it, as you can see. You can make it, like, really... And I'm realizing putting this on there. One second, I gotta go up to the top layer so it affects everything. We're gonna go on there, we're going to add a color balance layer, as I said before. Go from cyan and blue. That's what I want to do for this piece. Be a little bit magenta. And we're gonna go to highlights, make it red. Well, actually... I like the way the cyan highlights looks with this. I'm gonna add a little bit magenta as well, and some... There we go. And you can also mess around with the halftones as well. I don't really mess around with them very much, but... There's a color balance layer. You can look at it before and after. Again, it just adds richness to it. And so next we're going to add another layer type, and it's a tone curve. And this is one that's a little more confusing. I know some people know actually how to use it, but like I don't. So what I usually do is I just kind of go plotting some points and I just mess around. So I don't like how that looks. I'm going to restart it. I usually just kind of go up and down. And I kind of just move the stuff around until I get to a point that I like. And it's like the closer to the middle line that you stay, the less wacky it'll look. But sometimes if you get some wacky colors in there, it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to make another one up here. And again, I'm sure there's probably people who know exactly how to use this and are probably like making everyone really mad right now, but yeah, just kind of move these around. Have some fun with it. And what it does is something like posterization or some shit to make the colors closer to each other, so it kind of adds a little bit of that. As you can see, it actually added some greens in there, which looks kind of cool. You can also add this underneath the color balance layer if you want to like mess around with that. Kind of a horse piece. I actually think I'm gonna go here and kind of make it a little less intensive. Okay. And with that, we're gonna do our final touches. Okay. And a little more to the background. Throw a little more shite on the top. You do like a nice vignette or some shit. Okay. Add another ad layer real quick. Just to kind of hammer in the glow at the bottom. And I think I'll add some particles at the front as well, just like in the back. Make it nice and blurry. I know, make the background a little more blurry too. And so what our final touch is going to be, actually, we're going to take our whole thing, we're going to save it just in case. We're going to collapse everything in one layer. Then we're going to duplicate this layer, and we're going to go to the filter, Gaussian blur, and just blur it a little bit. A little blurry, then we're just going to take that down to about like 15%, just for a little added, not quite sure what to call it, just kind of adds a little softness to it. Yeah, and there you go, there's your finished piece then. Take like the original, what I had before, and you have your finished piece. Go to the top, there you go. Yeah, just a few layer effects, you don't actually have to go in and do this all from the beginning, which it may seem like you have to do, but that's how we do it. Okay. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any ideas for future tutorials and what you think, and make sure to like and subscribe. I want to do more stuff like this soon, so that's pretty cool. Thanks and bye.